Fellas, today we're going to be taking a look at the biggest fan favourites in the UFC, and I don't need to explain what a fan favourite is. You know what they are. The fighters that have the most fans behind them, the fighters that everyone wants to see win, whether that be because of their personality or their fight style, or maybe even both. And we're going to be taking a look at the biggest fan favourites in the UFC, basically the most liked fighters in the UFC, ones where you just really want to see them win. So please let me know if I miss any fighters out, or if you agree, or if any of these fighters tend to be on your favourite fighter list. But let's quit the waffling, let's go in there with the first one, and I'm just going to get it out there: Alex Pereira and Charles Oliveira. Now, the reason I've categorised them both, and the reason I've got them out there quickly, is because I did make a video about 2 weeks ago where I basically explained why they're fan favourites. But to summarise it, one's rivals with Izzy and one's rivals with Islam, and Izzy and Islam are two very disliked fighters in the UFC. Islam because of his fighting style. No one really wants to see him crotch sniff for 5 rounds, even though I'm going to be honest, I kind of like the fact that he's more willing to strike nowadays. And the fact that he's always fighting people like Oliveira and Volkanovski, who people tend to like. And with Izzy, I mean, there's a whole list of reasons why people don't like him. I don't think I need to go into that. Both Pereira and Oliveira have exciting styles. With Alex Pereira, it's kind of like, you know that he's going to be an S-tier striker. You know that he's going to rock his opponent. You know that he's going to be game. And then with Charles Oliveira, I mean, he's probably the most exciting fighter in the UFC. The fact that he can submit people and finish people so easily. I mean, I think the last time his fight went to a decision was Tony Ferguson. He finished Beneil Dariush, finished Poirier, finished Chandler, finished Gaethje, got finished by Islam. And then obviously Alex Pereira, I know I've already talked about him. Alex Pereira, he finishes a lot of people quite regularly. You know, he finished Strickland, finished Adesanya, didn't finish Blachowicz, but to be fair, that was his light heavyweight debut, and he's going to be fighting Yuri Prochazka. That's going to be one of the most exciting fights in the UFC. And the thing is, you know what to expect between them both. You know it's going to be fireworks, and maybe you don't know what to expect in the way how the fight's going to play out, but when it comes to styles, you know exactly what you're going to get with both of them. They're never in a boring fight. Neither of these guys are ever in a boring fight. You know what to expect. You know it's going to be a good fight. And that's why a lot of fans like them. And then when it comes to personality, neither of them have annoying personalities. The good thing about Charles Oliveira is that when Charles Oliveira wins, it feels like we're winning as well. It kind of feels like when Oliveira gets a dub, we're also getting a dub. And with Alex Pereira, he just comes across as this stoic warrior, man. A lot of people want to say literally me when it comes to Alex Pereira, but nah. Pereira, he doesn't have an annoying personality. I just find it kind of funny how he's Israel Adesanya's #1 hater in every aspect. So I'm going to go Alex Pereira and Charles Oliveira are two of the most liked fighters in the UFC. Already did a video on it, but I'm just going to get them out there. Then we're going to go with someone that Islam has been rivals with, Alexander Volkanovski. Another one of those fighters that a lot of people tend to like. He's on a lot of people's liked lists. First of all, he's a very likable person. He's he's somewhat charismatic, but he just comes across really nice, level-headed, not a huge trash talker, but at the same time, he's not boring. You know, he's willing to trash talk. He had a little bit of, he had a few altercations with Brian Ortega. I'm sure he's going to be trash talking with Ilia Topuria. He had a good rivalry with Max Holloway. He's just a game guy, you know. By the way, I said game, not gay, for those wondering, but Alexander Volkanovski, he's just a likable person, easy to get along with. I mean, he's so good at fighting, man. He's extremely good. The reason a lot of people have become a fan of his is because, like the last two fighters, you know what to expect with him. He's so good everywhere. He's like an S-tier striker and an A-tier grappler. He's one of I think he's the most balanced UFC fighter right now. Most balanced UFC fighter, but no, he's really, really good at fighting. And I've noticed that he always batters his opponents. He's not one of these fighters that tends to just bring fighters to a decision. He batters his opponents. Look at Max Holloway's face after he fought Volkanovski. Look at Yair Rodriguez's face after he fought Volkanovski. Look at Brian Ortega's face, Korean Zombie's face, even Islam Makhachev's face. He absolutely batters his opponents. He doesn't just point fight people to a decision win. He batters them and he leaves them out for a long time. And this is a very controversial one. I know a lot of people are going to say Jose Aldo, but for me, Volkanovski's near enough the featherweight go. If he goes out there and beats Ilia Topuria, I'm going to have to say that Volkanovski's the featherweight go. He's never lost in the featherweight division. I think his first ever loss. Now, I don't think he was in the featherweight division. His first ever loss outside of the UFC. I'm pretty sure he's in like welterweight or something crazy like that. But yeah, he's the featherweight GOAT for me. You know what to expect. Always putting on banger of a fight. Always batters his opponents. And then when it comes to personality, he just comes across as a really nice guy. He single-handedly makes me want to listen to the what's that song? The Down Under song. I forgot how it goes, but the Australian Down Under song. I come from a place down under. He makes me want to listen to that, man. Volkanovski, always a good fighter. Where no matter who he's fighting, whether he's fighting a boring fighter or an entertaining fighter, Volkanovski will find a way to make the fight fun. So I'm going with Volkanovski. Next up, we have Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland, one of the biggest fan favourites in the UFC now that he's beaten Adesanya. He's his number 2 hater. I know I bring back the point of Alex Pereira being Adesanya's number 1 hater, which is why a lot of people like him. Well, for Strickland, he's his number 2 hater. The trash talk that he gave the 10-8 in the press conference and then the 10-7 in the octagon. Alex Pereira personally trained him. Some people actually think that Sean Strickland is Alex Pereira, but Alex Pereira's got a mask on. That's how much like Strickland hates Adesanya. But he's got 3 dominating performances in a row. Yeah, he's won every fight this year. The dominating performance over Abbas Magomedov, the win over Imavov, obviously the dominating performance over what's his name, Adesanya as well. So he's starting to get his stuff together, is Strickland. He's starting to become a really solid fighter, and I kind of feel bad if I go against him now, because I don't think anyone expected him to beat Adesanya. He just had one of the biggest underdog stories in UFC history by beating Adesanya. No one expected him to win, and I kind of feel bad if I pick Dricus du Plessis to win against him, man, because Sean Strickland, he just proved everybody wrong. But he's got S-tier skills on the mic. When it comes to personality, I mean, I don't think I need to talk about it. He's got S-tier skills on the mic. He makes every press conference entertaining. Every time he's got a mic near him or a camera near him, even on the vlog series, he makes everything fun. He just comes across as a really funny guy, Sean Strickland. So yeah, unexpected champion as well. How are we in 2023? How is Sean Strickland a UFC champion? If you would have told me after the Jared Cannonier loss that in 2023 Strickland would be champion, I'd have told you to go watch a different sport, because I would not have believed you. But Strickland, extremely impressive underdog story, 100% a fan favourite in the UFC. Tony Ferguson. It's kind of sad watching Tony Ferguson's downfall. The 12-fight winning streak being compared to Khabib, and now he's being matched up against Paddy Pimblett. No one wants to side with Paddy Pimblett over Tony Ferguson. If you're on Paddy Pimblett's side, and I mean, like, I think it's fair to say that Paddy could win this fight, but if you want Paddy Pimblett to win this fight, you've got to be some drunk man in the pub from the UK who's never heard of Tony Ferguson, because how can you pick Paddy over Ferguson personality-wise? But Tony Ferguson, he's got a really exciting style. The emotes that he does in the octagon, the sand throwing, the cartwheels and everything, and obviously the fact that he's always in a war, the Anthony Pettis fight, the Donald Cerrone fight, all of his fights, even the Gaethje fight, even though he was getting pieced up in that fight, the Gaethje fight was entertaining. He just got a really exciting style. There's Tony Ferguson, never really in a completely boring fight. It's just sad to see him lose. I mean, after that Bobby Green loss, he needs to retire, man. He's due of a retirement. I personally think he should have retired after the Michael Chandler knockout, and then he goes on to fight and again and again and again. But he's the funniest on the mic. Like, you ask him a question, he'll come out with something completely different. Tony Ferguson on the mic is gold. He's him at media day. If you've ever seen Tony Ferguson at media day, the way he always like confuses the reporters is funny. I just think Tony Ferguson, a really good character. He's a really good character, and he used to be the boogeyman. He used to be the lightweight boogeyman, the 12-fight winning streak, winning fights that he wasn't supposed to win. Now he's losing to fights that he's not supposed to lose, man. It's kind of sad seeing Tony Ferguson go on this massive losing streak, but yeah, he's definitely a fan favourite. Nobody wants to see him lose. I'm convinced he could go on a 27-fight losing streak and people would still want him to win. So I've got to go Tony Ferguson. Was once one of the best in the lightweight division. Unfortunately went on a downfall. Then I'm going Max Holloway. It's kind of impossible to hate Max Holloway. He's a really likeable guy, nice guy, gets along with everyone. You can't hate him. Max Holloway's a really nice guy. And he's got some non-delusional takes. You never hear Max Holloway with these terrible takes. I'm glad the Khabib fight didn't happen, because if Khabib versus Holloway happened, it would have been a mauling. But yeah, he's got some decent takes on the mic. Nice guy. Sounds like a 12-year-old, but still. And he destroys every featherweight besides Volk. He's so high class. His boxing, his takedown defense, just his striking in general. He's such a good fighter. And yeah, just destroys every featherweight. Like Volkanovski, if Volkanovski was never born, right? If that bald-headed midget Volkanovski didn't exist, Max Holloway would be the king of featherweight. Arguably the greatest featherweight of all time. The dominating performance he had over Arnold Allen, the way he knocked out Korean Zombie, rest in peace Korean Zombie. Other fights as well. I mean, we look at the Brian Ortega fight, the Yair Rodriguez fight. Max Holloway just batters his opponents. He's so good on fight. He's never in a boring fight as well. When is Holloway ever in a boring fight? It's almost guaranteed blood or a guaranteed finish with him. Maybe not a guaranteed finish. I wouldn't say Holloway's a finisher. I mean, obviously there's the knockout over Korean Zombie, but in general it usually was. And I forgot to mention the Calvin Kattar fight. That's such a viral fight now because of how much Holloway battered Calvin Kattar. So Max Holloway's a fan favourite. You always want to see him win. Maybe when he's against somebody like Volkanovski, who everyone likes, maybe then you don't want to see him win. But on a general basis of fighting, you want to see Max Holloway win. I think he's been matched up against Josh Emmett in December, which is a really weird matchmaking. I didn't expect those two to be fighting each other, but I'm definitely going to be backing Holloway. I really want to see. The thing is, though, I don't really want to see him versus Volk another time because Volk's going to win. I think he just needs to move on, or maybe Volk moves up to lightweight. But either way, Max Holloway is a fan favourite. And finally, Robert Whittaker. There's something with these Australian fighters. I mean, I could have also included Taita Wivaza as well, but a lot of these Australian and New Zealand fighters tend to get a lot of love. He's just really down to earth, he's Robert Whittaker. You know, you've got Israel Adesanya training harder. You've got Robert Whittaker playing Valorant with his dad on stream. He just comes across as a really average guy, and that's not like an insulting way. Like, he's just a really average personality, but then he goes in the octagon and he's on some completely different mode, like max level Street Fighter type stuff, because he's a very solid fighter. It's kind of sad seeing him lose to Dricus du Plessis, but I mean, he did clear out the middleweight division. Wins over Marvin Vettori, Jared Cannonier, Derek Brunson, Darren Till, all these wins in the middleweight division. But even arguably the second fight with Adesanya, he won. A lot of people think that he beat Adesanya the second time. And the fact that, again, I just keep bringing up Adesanya. He had a little bit of a rivalry with Adesanya, and people didn't like that from Izzy, because to be fair, Izzy did start that from nothing. Robert Whittaker literally posted a meme on his Instagram about Israel Adesanya, and Adesanya started attacking him at the press conference, but he arguably beat Adesanya the second time, could have been the middleweight champion, but he usually more often than not puts on dominant performances. I mean, we saw the absolute schooling that he gave to Marvin Vettori at UFC Paris, I think it was, of 2022. And like I said, another one of those fighters that is rarely in a boring fight. And I'm not saying he's this absolute finishing machine, but just because he doesn't always finish his opponents, that doesn't make him boring, because he's always outstriking his opponents. He just shows how high level fighting can go to. He's one of the best strikers. I still believe, I can't write him out. I can't sit here and say that Robert Whittaker will never be champion again. Adesanya's kind of gone on a bit. I don't think Adesanya's going to be champion, but it'd be fun to see him versus Strickland or a rematch with Dricus. But yeah, Whittaker's definitely a fan favourite. You always want to see Dricus du Plessis win. Not Dricus du Plessis. You always want to see Whittaker win. But for me, that are my biggest fan favourites in the UFC. Again, please let me know if you like one of these fighters, or if one of these are your fan, or if you're a fan of one of these guys. But yeah, either way, thank you for watching.